It has been an incredibly busy week. Let me just summarize some of the work that's going on here and some of what my office has been doing. We had a very interesting hearing yesterday on a subject, Tom, that doesn't get anywhere near the discussion that it needs. And that is that, as the census report data showed, poverty in America is increasing. We now have some 46 million Americans living in poverty. And I think when a lot of people think about poverty, they say, well, that's unfortunate, it's too bad. People living in not good housing, they don't have a good car, they don't go to the movies on Saturday night, their kids don't have good clothing. But here was the point of that hearing. The title of that hearing, which involved a number of very brilliant physicians from around the country, was that poverty is a death sentence. It's a death sentence. If you are in the bottom 20% quintile of income earners, you are going to die 6.5 years earlier than if you are in the top 20%. If you're in the bottom 20%, if you're poor, you're going to die 6.5 years earlier than if you are upper income. A study from Harvard University indicated that some 45,000 Americans die each year because they don't have health insurance and can't get to the doctor on time. By the time they do get to the doctor, it is often too late. If you have a college degree, you will live 5 years longer than somebody who has dropped out of high school. Infant mortality rates for African American families is twice that for white families. So what you are looking at is not just an increase in poverty because of this Wall Street-caused recession. You are also looking at more and more people dying earlier than they should, because in fact, in this country today, poverty is a death sentence. And then on top of all of that, what we also have, and what a dubious distinction that is, we have by far the highest poverty rate, childhood poverty rate of any major country on earth. Denmark, the much maligned Scandinavian model, Denmark, it's about 3.6%. Many of the other countries in Scandinavia, the poverty rate for children is under 7%. In our country, it's 21.6%. France, Germany, under 10%. That means you have a whole generation of children who are not getting the nutrition, not getting the education, not getting the nurturing that they need to go out in the workforce and become productive, tax-paying citizens. So we are investing heavily in wars. We give huge tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country and to the largest corporations. But uniquely in the industrialized world, we have over 20% of our children living in poverty. So that whole issue of how you address poverty is an issue that does not get a lot of discussion, Tom, because many poor people don't vote, and certainly low-income people are not major campaign contributors. So what happens to poor people does not get discussed unless it is discussed by the right wing in terms of making poor people a political football. Second of all, yesterday, as I've talked on this program in the past, we introduced very significant legislation. We talk a lot about Social Security. Social Security is not going broke. Social Security has not contributed one nickel to the surplus. According to recent reports, Social Security has a $2.5 trillion surplus, can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 28 years. What I did yesterday is introduce legislation with 6 co-sponsors, did a press conference with Barbara Boxer of California, Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, 2 of my 6 co-sponsors, Peter DeFazio of Oregon, who was introducing the same bill in the House. What this bill does is lift the cap on taxable income for all people who are earning above $250,000 so that they will pay 100% of the FICA tax on all of their income, which is what 94% of the American people currently do. Right now, if you're making $50,000, you pay 100% of the FICA tax on your income. You're making $106,000, you do the same. You're making $1 million, you're paying only on the first $106,000. If you do that, if that legislation is passed, Social Security will be strong for the next 75 years. End of discussion. Good for your kids, good for your grandchildren. maybe even your great-grandchildren. That's what we've got to do. Last point. We are working hard on, obviously, the major issue of our time, a jobs program. Real unemployment, 16%, 25 million people unemployed or underemployed. What do we have to do? In my view, what we have to do is invest very, very heavily in our crumbling infrastructure. Obama mentioned that in his speech. He's right, but we have to do even more. The fastest way to create decent paying jobs and rebuild our country is by investing in infrastructure. We can put millions of people to work, not just blue collar workers, not just laborers, but engineers, scientists as well. Second of all, I think you have to rebuild our energy system. You create jobs doing that. Thirdly, the most controversial element, we need to change our trade policies. Obama is wrong. The Bush trade policies should not be continued. We need a new direction in trade. We've got to demand that corporate America, which has outsourced millions of jobs, starts reinvesting in America, not in China. So those are a few of the things that are taking place in D.C. right now.